How's it going, everyone? My name is Lionel and welcome to a slasher dating simulator. Now, I found this game on itch. Obviously, I don't know what I'm getting myself into. Apparently, I'm supposed to be trying to romance all these horror movie characters. So let's just see how this is gonna go down. This game is 18 plus only, includes... Oh, I should have turned off these scenes. But apparently, there's cannibalism. So hey, if that's your deal, if you like the nomi-nomis, okay. Choose my Ooh, I do like me some Freddy. Let's go for Freddy. What? Are you kidding? They're all locked. I can only date Jason. Fine. I guess we'll be dating Jason. The afternoon sun was high, and despite the canopy of green overhead, it still beat down on me with that familiar summer heat. It would be enjoyable were I not dragging every bit of luggage to my name by hand on an ill-kept dirt road. Admittedly, it was still gorgeous out, and I felt reassured as I reminded myself what lay at the end of this god-forsaken trail. I had landed a position as a counselor in training at Camp Crystal Lake, doing most of their dirty work, cleaning up the kids, washing dishes, etc. It'll be fun, I tell myself. It was a chance to get out, see some nature. I'd spoken briefly with one of the owners of the camp when I called about the position, an older woman who said she owned the place and ran it with her son. I wondered how much of this land they actually owned. Seeing just how expansive it is now that was in the dead center of it all, I found it hard to believe they could afford the upkeep of such a large piece of land on summer camp profits alone, especially one this far down a dirt road. Wait. Where is the road? Where is the road? Shit! Where am I? Well, this is a little too much nature. Before I realized it, I made a couple of wrong steps off the beaten path straight into unfamiliar territory, a thicket so vast I could barely see the light of day. I tried to turn around and retrace my steps back to the path, but it's as if they'd vanished, blending in with the rest of this unnavigable forest. I'm pretty sure I still remember the direction I'm supposed to be headed, so I start walking again, now trudging through thick kudzu with my heavy bags in tow. The more I walked, the woods seemed to get deeper and deeper. It was almost eerie how quiet it was out here. Being immersed in nature is one thing, but it felt like I was the only living, breathing thing for miles. After a few minutes of treading along, my ear caught a sound. A thumping noise, somewhere off in the distance. It was almost rhythmic, like chopping. I picked up the pace, high-stepping it towards the direction I thought I heard the sound coming from. I followed the sound as it got louder and louder, and just in the distance, I will make out a figure. I could just barely see them past the trees, but it was distinctly a person. I maneuvered past some downed logs and tree stumps to try and get close enough to see them, and for them to see me. They seemed to have the back turned. Hello? The man perked up, turning to face me. I stood like a deer in headlights, taken aback by his appearance. He was massive, a lumbering form draped in heavy clothing that felt unnatural for this kind of heat. He donned an unsettling, tattered mask on his face and stared unnervingly through me with unseeing eyes. He turned his body completely to look at me, looming over me like a shadow. Well, I'm into that. That was when I saw it, the axe in his hand. There was a beat of silence, then he moved towards me. In a panic, I dropped my bags and made a break for it. I ran blind, deeper into the woods, putting as much distance between myself and that thing as I possibly could. Just as I began to feel safe, a thick root jutting out of the ground caught my foot and launched me into the dirt. The wind was completely knocked out of me, and I heaved as I attempted to sit up quicker than my body would allow. Before I could pick myself back up, there he was, somehow right behind me, looming over me like a bear. Oh, Jason's a bear! His chest rises and falls with a slow, deep breath as he stares silently at me. My body feels like ice. I'm not even breathing anymore. The air is caught in my throat. I'm sure I'm going to die. Well, I'm sure you're gonna die, but I don't think this is the way you're gonna die. If you get what I'm saying, you get what I'm saying. The figure lurched forward, and I instinctively brought my hands up to shield myself from what was to come. But nothing came. Ah! Anxiously, I open my eyes and find that the man is now crouched down. Oh my god, Jason looks like a pimp. Offering me a hand. He isn't chopping me up with an axe or stringing me up by my neck. He's just trying to help me up. I take his hand cautiously, but before I could protest, He places another strong hand around my arm to support me as I stand. He must have seen how badly I ate it and assumed my leg might not feel great after such a wipeout. He brushed off my shoulders too, dusting off the dirt that coated my arms. Nothing felt broken, but I was definitely bruised from the fall. He brings his hand to his chest, beginning to sign. "Sorry, I didn't mean to scare you. You dropped your bags." I see now that he has my backpack slung over his shoulder and my suitcase sitting at his feet. He had time to follow me and grab my heavy-ass bags? Jesus, are you looking for the campground? I don't think this is how Jason would sound, but I'm just gonna go with it. I realized he was talking to me in ASL, so I began to sign back to him. "Yes, actually, do you know where they are?" He nodded, picking up my suitcase and motioning for me to follow him. Silence flowed between the man and I, as I found myself staring at his back. His strides were long and well experienced with the terrain, while I still felt myself catch on uneven ground. I hurried my pace to match his, the quiet of the forest creeping back up my spine as my bruises began to ache dully. "So," I paused, hoping to break the awkward feeling building within my chest. "Do people often get lost, or am I a special case?" The man's head tilted in my direction, his eyes catching mine through the hollowed holes of his old, worn hockey mask, as he shook his head. "No," when he caught sight of my offered hand willing to take my bags. "It happens. Luckily, you ran into me." Not so luckily, I also ran into the ground. I smile, ignoring the discomfort of my embarrassment as I push the conversation forward. It will be easy to lose myself here. Intentionally, I mean. A low chuckle of response sounds from my woodsy savior, and I can't help but brighten as a smile tugs against my cheek. It's a sound that I just couldn't help but to beam at. Sorry again for scaring you. I mean, I am staring at you. Don't worry about it. It really isn't your fault. I mean, he is a giant, masked, axe-wielding man alone in the middle of the woods. He's not exactly the most approachable figure. It was mostly the axe. What were you doing out there anyway? Chopping wood for our campers to carve later, for making fires as well. Aw, he's so nice. Well, that made sense. See a man out in the woods with an axe? Think firewood, not maniac. After a few minutes of correcting my poor navigation, we finally made it to the campground. It's a bit surreal how different it is from the deep woods. The campground are so full of life. Kids playing and running around. From the center of the ground, you can really get a good look at the lake. It really is beautiful out here. In this light, I can get a much better look at the man. He's still massive. Lighting didn't really change that, but he definitely doesn't look as menacing now. He sits my back down and turns to look at me. Just because he doesn't look menacing doesn't mean he isn't still intimidating. "Are you one of the new counselors?" "Yeah, I am. Your cabin is back there. Feel free to get settled. We can start your training first thing tomorrow." Did he say training? "Do you work here?" He nodded. "My name is Jason Voorhees." How do you sign for that? Really, how do you sign Jason Voorhees? I mean, I get Jason, but Voorhees isn't exactly the most common name out there, is it? Am I just dumb? Oh, what an odd line of work for someone of his demeanor. Wait, is this a son Mrs. Voorhees mentioned on the phone? I felt an immediate hot wash of embarrassment. It's not a great first impression to run in fear from your new employer. I should introduce myself too. My name is Lionel, so... Well, it's nice to meet you. I'm Lionel. It's nice to meet you too, Lionel. I can almost hear the warmth in his signed words, how genuinely happy he is to make conversation. It softens those edges a bit. A noise catches Jason's attention, pulling him away from the conversation. I have to get going. If you need anything, I'll be around. See you in the morning, Lionel. With that, he was gone, wandering off somewhere across the campsite. I picked up my bags and headed towards my cabin, relieved that I was minutes away from a well-deserved nap. I trudged down towards the path, watching the cabin emerge from the covers of the trees. Counselors were hanging around the cabin's porch, talking amongst themselves and getting their room assignments. "Yo!" a voice called out to me. "Yeah, you! Come over here! I need to get you signed in." I see a couple of counselors, a guy who looked a bit older than me, and a girl who was probably around the same age as me. "Sorry, I didn't realize, my name's Lionel." Yeah, my name's Kevin. I'm in charge around here, so you come to me if you have any issues, got it?" I mean, I don't think that's how he would sound. I mean, he looks quite burly. I mean, yeah, I got the hots for Jason right now, but this guy, maybe, I don't know. Okay. Kevin looks up and down his list before giving me a passive, unimpressed glance. Yep, you're on here, alright. Fern, show Lionel around the cabin, would you? The girl perked up and nodded. Oh yeah, she looks my age. Sure, follow me, Lionel. I'll show you to your room. I gave Kevin a thank you nod, but he was already on to talking to the next counselor on the list. I followed Fern inside and was immediately welcomed by the cozy air of the traditional wood cabin. Fern led me to my room and gestured for me to head inside. Alright, make yourself at home, and I'll be by to get you later for dinner. See you in a bit. We exchanged a wave as Fern hurried back out to greet the other incoming counselors. I set my luggage down and made a beeline for the bed. Unpacking can wait. Sitting on the edge of the bed, I kicked off my shoes, only now realizing just how sore my feet were from the walk here. I fell back on the bed, climbing under the neatly made quilt. It wasn't long after my head hit the pillow that I was drifting off. The morning sun bathes Crystal Camp Lake in a pastel wash. Well, Camp Crystal Lake. I go about making coffee and some toast before what is sure to be a busy day. All the walking from yesterday had caught up with me. It was as if my legs were screaming at me to go back to bed. I have to get used to it if I'm going to be doing stuff like this for the rest of the summer. I'm hoping the other counselor set up in preparation for the camper today. My toast pops up from the toaster and I drag my feet to the kitchen table. I mean, I can't pronounce table. It's just table. I bite into my toast and sip my coffee, still feeling the early morning drunkenness. As I'm on my last bite of toast, there comes a knock at the screen door. Oh, Jason! I scarf it down and pad down the hallway, seeing a large silhouette at the door. I open it to see Jason standing there, impossibly tall and muscular. Oh, he's muscular, alright. His clothes are tight around his huge frame. Ooh. And I can practically feel the power that radiates from him. Such power that radiates from him as his broad chest lightly follows his breath. Seeing Jason almost instantly puts a smile to my face. My screaming legs finally shut up from being blessed by his mere presence. Oh, such power, Jason, such power. Hey, Jason, what brings you here? Good morning, Lionel. I know you were going to join the other counselors in setting up today, but I could really use your help if that's okay with you. The campers are going to arrive soon, so this place needs to be in working order. Think you're up for it? If you want, that is. I can tell Jason is a bit shy. It's strange seeing such a huge and impressive man act like this, but honestly, I think it's adorable. I can't help but feel a wide grin grow across my face. I mean, you can see it here. I'm real happy to see Jason. Of course, it sounds great. Come on in, I'm just finishing out my morning routine. Jason follows me inside, ducking a bit to get under the doorframe. I'm going to change, I'll be right back. Just wait right here. Jason nods and does as he's told. My heart pounds with excitement in my ears as I head upstairs to change out of my PJs and into my day clothes. He wants me. Oh, he wants me to go with him. After I brush my teeth, splash my face with water, and took one last look in the mirror, I head downstairs back to him. Ready, Lionel? I smile and give him a nod, patting my head on his broad shoulder. We head out to the door together and walk side by side to the activities area. Our first job is to haul the kayaks to their proper racks. I watch in disbelief as Jason saunters by with two of them in a row. I'm struggling with one. Cheater! I watch Jason's shoulder shake in laughter. He helps to drag the kayak I'm battling and lifts it into its appropriate slot. He is so incredible. He's barely even breaking a sweat. It's back-breaking work, but we're able to get it done in record time thanks to Jason's raw strength. Next, we set up the archery range. Jason and I prepared the lanes, set out the targets, and count out the supplies. I bundled them together, 3 arrows and 1 finger tap for each camper. Jason restrings each row and tests them to make sure that they're taut and firm. Taut? With this station, all that matters is safety. Make sure the kids, and the counselors for that matter, only point their bow downrange when it is their turn to fire. You wouldn't believe how many people almost put someone else's eyes out just because their mind isn't on safety. I can't imagine. Right. No accidents on my watch. I make sure each and every line is clear of debris and in no time, we're finished up at the archery range. Next, we go to the woodcutting area. I watch in awe as Jason yanks a huge axe out of the stump, and in one deft motion, hefts it back over his shoulder before bringing it back down to the block of wood resting on the stump. The wood block snaps in two. I stare as he repeats the process a few times before turning to me, chest heaving and sweat glistening on his skin. My face heats up at the holy sight. He pulls out a knife from his back pocket and begins chipping away at one of the split logs. He doesn't even need to look at what he's doing. Want to give it a try? Me? Jason chuckles, and the sound is an absolute delight. God, Jason, he's just so... Stop it, Lionel. Focus! Focus! Yes, you are. Here, I have an extra carving knife. Alright, here goes nothing. What should I make? I'm gonna go with bear. I attempt to carve a bear. Oh? That's embarrassing. Is that a bear? Yeah, I couldn't think of anything else. So I made something that you remind me of. Huh. I remind you of a bear. Jason tilted his head at me. This game knows exactly what I'm thinking. Fuck. Oh, I might have said too much. Maybe I could save myself from explaining what a human bear is. For instance, you're very big, strong, and fearless, like a bear. I see. I get it now. Do you think I could keep it? If you don't want it, of course. Here, take it. I like you. Really, I don't have anything I plan to do with it, so sure. Thank you so much, Lionel. I'll put it on my desk when I get back to my cabin. Aw, of course, Jason. I'm glad you like it. Well, you must be ready for a break now. It's so hot out here. Let's go stock up the freezers. That'll cool us down. I sincerely doubt that statement as I watch Jason lift his shirt to dab the sweat on his neck, exposing his muscular stomach. I follow Jason to the camp kitchen where we stock the camp's freezers and pantries with food, enjoying the cool air surrounding us. Yoo-hoo! Jason! Lionel! Would you mind helping me prepare dinner? I just imagined that Pamela would just sound like that. Of course, Mother. Oh my god, that's his mom. Absolutely. Happy to help, Mrs. Voorhees. I don't remember Mrs. Voorhees looking like that. Please, dear, call me Pamela. Jason and I help Pamela chop vegetables for salad and man the grills and ovens, which are lined with barbecued meats and aluminum wrapped potatoes, respectively. My, Jason has you quite busy today. Oh, yeah, it's been great. I feel like I've learned a lot. You did great today. There shouldn't be much more to do here before the campers arrive. I'd love to hear it, my dears. You've taken the hard work off my hands. I'm so grateful. The dining hall fills with counselors, and Pamela let us pick our food first. She stands on her tiptoes to whisper something in Jason's ear. He bends down to hear her. Their eyes flicker to me briefly, and I shift one foot to the other. Jason waves to his mother as they part ways, and he rejoins me. Do you want to eat with me? I actually have a question for you. Sure, I'd love to. We pile our plates high with hot food, and Jason leads us over to the log by the fire to eat. We eat together, and I can barely contain my excitement at being able to spend so much time with him. So I've been thinking, I know you're supposed to be taking a camping trip with the other counselors, but I was wondering if you wanted to go with me and the kids. If not, I understand, it's last minute and all. Why is he so shy? I screech in delight in my mind, but give Jason a gentle smile. This is not a gentle smile. I'm ecstatic. Jason, it made me really happy to go with you. Really? That's great. My mother agreed to take her place with the other counselors. This means a lot to me. I study his masked face. His eyes light up and bright in the firelight. I can hardly contain my own excitement. He must really like spending time with me. I'll come get you tomorrow morning, and we'll head out. That sounds great. Looking forward to it. We finish eating and throw our paper plates into the garbage. Our eyes meet, and I shuffle from one foot to the other. I'll walk you back to your cabin. The night air is sweet with honeysuckle as we trek back towards the cabins. I love it here. You can see the stars so well. Where I'm from, you'd never get this kind of visibility. Yeah, me too. It's really beautiful. I noticed Jason shove his hands into his coat pockets, and I swear I see the hint of flush paint his neck in the sliver of moonlight. Well, here's my stop. Oh yes, well, thanks for helping out. I really enjoyed spending time with you today. Yeah, anytime. I did too. I start up the stairs and turn to wave to Jason. See you in the morning, Jason. Good night, Lionel. Don't let the bedbugs bite. I smile and nod my head at him before closing the door and happily trotting to my bed. I stand next to the bed and fall backwards on top of it, letting out a sigh. I'm so lucky. I get to hang out with Jason again tomorrow. Thank you, Pamela, for covering for me. My eyes grow heavier to the point where I can barely keep them open. Jason and I did so much work today. I feel so exhausted. I search for the covers for my legs and pull them over myself. Before I know it, I start to drift to sleep. It's now been a few days since I arrived at the camp, and they have been nothing short of tedious. Learning everything from preparing the finest crustless peanut butter and jellies to being able to help perfect the ultimate 10 pitching technique. It's something of a thankless job, I've come to realize, but there are parts of it I've found quite rewarding. So my initial encounter with the large looming camp counselor was a shaky start. Every moment since then has been one of genuine enjoyment. I find myself stealing glances and hidden coy smiles when I watch him work alongside me. Before, I might have died of embarrassment any time his chest touched my back trying to adjust my hold on tools or equipment, or hid from sight when he had to put out a fire stove because I wasn't paying attention to the food. Of course, now that I've had plenty of time to allow him to be my teacher and show me the ropes, being a quick learner has only come to benefit me and let me get a little closer to my new head counselor. There's something about him that gives me butterflies in the pit of my stomach, making my skin warm and my thoughts muddled. I mean, of course, these things happen. Crushes like these happen all the time when people spend every minute of the day together, but I don't know why, but something feels different. Should I be feeling this way? Now the dinner's prepared, I should do something a little more productive than all this daydreaming. Maybe a little shower will help. I don't like the smell of oil and chicken palm when I see Mr. Voorhees later. Not if I don't have to, anyway. My boot crunches against the gravel as I step out of the mess hall and take in the crisp summer's breeze. The sky paints itself hues of pink, orange, and purple, and my mind steadily returns to my thoughts. I was caught off guard when he personally asked me, of all the counselors, to help him with tonight's bonfire, so admittedly I felt a swell of pride. It meant a lot that he felt he could trust me with setting things up and taking care of the kids, and even more so considering I'm the newest of the crew. I imagine it might have had something to do with my ability to mesh with the kids, but I don't care. Whatever the reason, I'm not going to let him down. I find myself back to the counselor's cabin, gathering a change of clothes and a robe in one arm. I press my back to the wooden stall out back and wait for the others to finish. The sound of giggling can only mean one thing, and I can't help but roll my eyes. Eventually, the duo in question would step out, sharing a knowing look with me before it was finally my time. I enjoyed the heat and steam that rubbed off the smells of firewood and cooked bacon from my body. I tie my rope back on, letting out a satisfied sigh, and begin to head back inside. I find my pants and throw on my favorite sweater. I pat at the giant camp sign with a long sigh before heading on out, only making a few steps down the stairs before slamming straight into something solid. Oof, what the hell? I look up, rubbing my nose, and then I felt my face turn bright red. Of course I'd run into Jason. That's what I get for not paying attention. I shrink a bit and roll my lips into a thin line. Mr. Voorhees, I'm sorry, I didn't see you there. I could tell. You're lucky you didn't trip. You could have sprained something. I find myself mentally sighing. Now he was scolding me. I didn't need him to speak to know what kind of tone he was adopting. I give a sheepish smile and sign back to him. Don't wish ill on me now. I have dinner all set up. I know you said you needed some help. I was surprised you didn't ask Fern or Kevin for help. They're better at the tents than I am. Jason's gaze stays lingering on me for a moment. He shifts silently in thought before returning his focus back. Fern is busy setting up the kayaks on the boat rack tonight. As for Kevin, his hands still, and blue eyes shift to the ground. This is a familiar face, and he makes it a lot where Kevin is concerned. I'm just happy to help. No words needed. Besides, I'm just happy to help where I can. The man nods, planting his hand against his waist and giving me a once over. He might not have vocalized it, but his eyes softened in recognition of the offer of aid. He raises his hand once more to sign, before picking up the lacrosse equipment he had been on his way to put up. Since you've started to improve leaps and bounds, I have no doubt that tonight will be easy work for you. If you need help, I'll be here if you need it. It's hard to stop a smile from forming at the corner of my lips, rubbing the side of my neck sheepishly. I'm grateful he's too preoccupied gathering all the sports equipment. It would have been instant death had he seen the flush in my cheeks. My hands found my face, rubbing at the heat I had felt, before joining him as I walked towards the campsite area. On my way, Jason is quick to store the equipment on its designated rack, clapping the dust off his hands in completion. So, lead the way. Is there anything in particular you want me to start with first? With ease, Jason collected all the tent equipment in one arm, biceps flexing with impressive strength as he hoisted it to his shoulder. He notices my eyes lingering a second too long, but he doesn't bring attention to it. He hands me a box of snacks, all the trappings with s'mores and Vienna sausages, and cants his head to the side in a motion to follow after him. It's your choice. These are larger tents since it's easier to keep the kids in groups. They've been complaining about noises. The easier I can see them, the better. If you want, feel free to start a bonfire now that it's sundown. Either that, or get the torches placed on the trail. After that, you can help with the tents, if need be, and we can get food handed out after. I nod, huffing as I struggle to keep up with his strong strides, especially with 50 pounds of food sitting on my hip. Once I arrive at the campsite, bare bones and ready to be set up, I know exactly where I'd like to start. Set up the bonfire first. I took to the empty fire pit and let out a tired groan. Not exactly my favorite thing, if only because of the level of manual labor involved, but it had to be done regardless. I stretched my arms above my head and planted my hands at my hips confidently. Well, even if no one likes to, setting up the bonfire isn't gonna happen on its own. Really? Why don't people like to? Well, not like anyone is as strong as you are when it comes to hefting up all that firewood. Even without seeing much of his face, I could read the confusion easily with his body language. There was a moment where he looked around, pausing in his work before canting his head to the side in understanding. So, it must have been in respect to his strength. That makes sense. I see. Your body is amazing. What's not to understand? Your body is amazing. Jason looks at me, a little off guard, and becomes stiff. Sorry, I didn't mean to come off like that. Your body is an impressive sight. That does not sound any better. I begin to blush and feel a little awkward after making a comment. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. No, it's okay. Thank you. Oh, he's blushing. Jason writes up his sleeves and begins to flex his arms at me, making my face heat up. I couldn't stop my hand from reaching out and touching his impressive muscles. As soon as I touch him, a strong force hits my hand and knocks me down to the ground. It was his fist. Oh shit, my head! I look up at Jason, who quickly bends down to me. I can't read his emotions right now. I don't know if he got mad or... I start to see double and everything gets blurry. My head hurts too much. I lightly touch the side of my head and bring my hand in front of me. Is that blood? What? I died? I died from compliment? Oh my god! You're kidding! Alright, so I'm back to where I was. And I'm guessing the right answer here is to say you were raised well, because we know that Jason is very much attached to his mom. I could call him a superhero, but I don't think that makes sense here. So let's try you were raised well. Your mother raised you incredibly well. At the mention of his mother, Jason's composure falls slack and he nods. Knew it. I knew it. This is lore heavy. There's no taking away from the swell of pride that came with being the man of his mother wanted him to be, and it felt good to hear someone speak kindly of her. As his gaze settles on me, I feel eyes on my face, and instinctively blush races across my cheeks. My mother has a tendency to get on the bad side of a lot of counselors. She's an amazing woman. She deserves to be seen as much. I think so anyway. I nod in agreement, think of the few instances in which Mr. Voorhees and I have interacted. She certainly had an icy sort of way to conversate, but I didn't find her awful. It was easy to see that she was simply protective of her son, like all mothers were. And well, The other counselors here, especially the girls, they weren't really subtle about the stares they give her son when he was doing any form of labor around the camp. She actually likes you. The comment throws me off guard, and I feel the stupefied expression taking my expression over. His mother spoke of me? I know it took me by surprise too, believe it or not, but because it's you, not because of you, just because she's slow to warm up to others. You do a lot more than the other counselors though. I do admit that much. I think I'll try to get on his mother's good side. I'll see if I can help her more then. I'll have to see how else I can help her then. I'd like to have lunch with her sometimes. Jason's eyes widened at that, nodding along with the idea. There's something delightfully innocent about his excitement, and it makes me smile a bit in response. I think she will like that. She can be a bit of a loner, but it will be nice to see her having friends. I wouldn't mind joining. I cross my arms against my chest. Oh my god, am I gonna get both Jason and Pamela? Is that what's going on here? Chuckling coyly at him, enjoying his eagerness, which was completely brand new to me. I'm not sure, it's supposed to be a solo relaxation day, right? You can't take my idea of treating her. That's uncool. The man huffs, crossing his arms back to mimic my stance. He isn't bothered by my laugh. In fact, he sees nothing wrong with it. Considering I'm her only son and her favorite by proxy, we'll see about that. Any doubts I might have had before all this all but washes away now. With a nod on my head, I take to pouring the oil into the bonfire, carefully lighting it ablaze with the lighter. I look to the sky, admiring the hues of pinks and blues that came with the sunset, and stole a glance over at the head counselor as he started to line the kids up one by one, checking their belongings and getting them ready for the night. I rose to my feet, moving to join him so that we could begin our night proper. I'll start setting up the trail torches then. I have a feeling the kids are going to want to spend all their time out tonight. The weather is really nice. Jason nods in agreement, spreading out the tent supplies nearby. He jerks his head in the direction of the plastic container bin close to the scattered seating around the bonfire. All of the materials should be in the bin. There should be oil in there as well. If there isn't, there's some in the kitchen storage area. Without much preamble, I get to work, heading over to the bin and piling the torches into my arms. They're a lot heavier than I remember, but it likely has something to do with picking up 8 of them in one sitting. Well, you should probably go for less, but hey, you want to impress Jason, it's up to you. I feel myself stumbling backwards a bit, and as I do, I feel the weight of my body tilt over, sneakers catching over shoelaces and gravel. An explosive gasp left my lips before that familiar feeling of strength took over. I had felt Jason's powerful arm pull me taut to his chest, and when I looked up, clutching the torches tight to my chest, I saw the familiar sight of that hockey mask looking down at me, eyes so full of concern. Maybe the torches might be too heavy. Do you want me to take over for you? Oh my god. I should save here, just in case. I mean, I really want to say you can take me right now, but I think I'll go with I could use some help, be a bit humble here. I wouldn't mind waiting for some help, yeah. There's something of a low chuckle that muffles behind the hockey mask, and it makes my body feel hot all over. With ease, Jason sets me back upright, adjusting the tiki torches in my arms, properly before placing his hands at the small of my back in encouragement. I can't help but beam at him a bit, and he can't help but soften his gaze when I do. A gentle exchange of silent acknowledgement. He turns his attention back to stomping the sticks in the ground, already partially done with the first tent, before turning to the side to sign to me. I don't mind, I'm almost done with the tents here. Give me a moment. I find myself waiting patiently, rocking back and forth on my heels as I watch Jason work on the tents with practiced speed and accuracy. It came from years of being here, I think to myself. It's his entire life, his entire world. I couldn't make the same bridge since I wasn't always an outdoors person. Once there was even a time where the thought of sleeping on anything other than a mattress was a bad end for me, but now beside him seemed idyllic. My feet tap against one another impatiently, wanting to work alongside him, and when he finally finishes, I bounced up eagerly. We take to the trails, and he extends his hand out to take some of the weight from my arms. Once he finds the familiar holes in the earth from prior tortures, we each take a side and get to work. So, you never told me, have you and your mother been here a long time? We have. She's owned and taken care of Crystal Lake longer than I have been around. I imagine it'll always be like that. I find myself saddened by the thought. Surely it makes sense. If he grew into this life, then of course he'd picture himself only doing that, but does that mean he never tried to make any personal time for himself? I felt my tongue weigh heavier. Have you ever thought about doing anything else? Passion projects or trade work, maybe? I've seen some of your wood carvings. They're pretty amazing. There's a brief pause on his hand that I noticed, and I felt myself tense up, clutching the tiki torches tighter. The counselor turns to look over his shoulder, contemplative, then plants another torch in the ground with ease. I breathe a sigh of relief, swallowing the lump in my throat. I watch him stand up again, rolling his shoulders, and he turns to me as I finish up on my own torches. Most people don't know about that hobby. It's nice, someone recognizing it. Thank you. Thank you. For what? For your time. It's nice to be able to talk to someone about something other than work. There's no way to describe the feeling I get in my chest at that admission. My heart stammers away at my ribcage, and I feel my palms get sweaty. Knees weak, mom spaghetti. Sorry, I just had to. He really felt that way? I couldn't help but give a crooked smile, nodding. Of course, I'm glad. I'm glad I could do that for you, Mr. Voorhees. Jason. He thinks for a long time, shaking his head as he tries to process the way his full name sounds. This wasn't something he understood. Why wouldn't you call him by his first name? He looks back to me and steps much closer. I would prefer being called Jason. I nod once more, perhaps a bit more hurriedly than I realized, and plant the last of the torches in my hold. Jason it is then. I think we're done here, actually. Should we head back? He nods and without much preamble, steps in time with me as we begin to head back to the campsite. A few branches off to the woods had pulled his attention away from idle conversation, pausing at the weight of them being stamped underfoot, pausing the head counselor to investigate, forcing, but to no avail. I felt something in my gut coil nervously, but at his assurance, my concerns melted away. Whatever could have been roaming about was surely no threat to him, especially if Jason was with me. No, instead, I focused on the next task at hand. Looks like everything's done. By the time the sun had set, all the kids had taken to their tents, sleeping bags in hand, and got to running around enjoying the activities of the night. I ducked back into the cafeteria to get the menu for the evening, something every child and even adults like myself would look forward to. Fried chicken drumsticks, 3 cheese mac and cheese, and a side of veggie fries. For dessert, Jason had opted for apple slices, but there was no moving me when it comes to s'mores. It took some doing, but the night had gone so well, it was like he was willing to go along with whatever I recommended. I shouldn't let this get to my head, but I don't know. I think I like him a lot more than I realized. I paused in my walking, exhaling softly and smiling to myself, clutching the trays before looking out to where Jason had been. A few of the children had gathered around him, watching with anticipation as he showed them the proper way to sharpen a stick for them to roast their marshmallows on. Even in full bellies, the moment dessert was mentioned, they were ready for more. It was adorable seeing him mesh so effortlessly with the kids, especially given his age and sometimes brash temperament. I head over, waiting until most of the kids were settled before breaking their concentration. That's adorable. Damn. Drumroll? No drumroll, guys. I might have to eat those all on my own. Marshmallows. You give me. Can I have 2, 3, please, Lionel? I laughed a bit, feeling a small hand tug at my cargo shorts and pulling me off balance a bit. Once I gathered a crowd, I found my gaze traveling upward and locked eyes with the head counselor, who he was giving me such a look, so new and intense. I thought my heart would fly out my throat. I swallowed the tug of hands, pulling me back to reality. I'll tell you what, the one who sits the most still and doesn't blink gets 3 marshmallows off the bat. Ready? It took a little effort to corral them all, but once the marshmallows went onto the sticks, and the kids all had their chocolate and graham crackers set up, I finally found the time to sit down. An explosive, tired little raspberry blew past my lips as I had my 5 marshmallows lined up, ready for building, when a shadow loomed overhead of me. My gaze looked upwards, smirking as the head counselor took a seat beside me. Eyeing my stick and its contents, I could sense the judgment. I built the first, placing the stick between my thighs and popped it in my mouth to sign him. What? Isn't 5 excessive? Never. It's hardly enough. You can't go camping without s'mores. It's practically illegal, you know? Jason rolled his eyes, building his own s'mores and sliding it beneath his mask, patting the crumbs off his shirt. I didn't notice the way his eyes linger on my marshmallow collective, only on the day's happenings and the kids conversing around the bonfire. He moved closer, scooping up the melting marshmallows and brushing his hand across the top of his knee and thigh. I choked on the s'mores, pounding at my chest before swiveling my head to look at him, locking in another intense look once again. Though this time he seemed perfectly aware of the effects his eyes had. It could have burned, you know. Here. I looked at the paper plate he had offered me, but I was quick to return back to those crystal blue eyes of his. I chewed slower, blinking, before looking away shyly with a chuckle. Once I was rid of the dessert in my mouth, I transferred the marshmallows onto the plate, signing with my free hand. Thank you. It's been a long time since I've enjoyed these. Maybe since the last time I was at camp myself, actually. This is my first time, actually. What? There's no way. If you grew up here, you had to have the chance once or twice. Do you just not like them? There's a moment's silence the two of us share, and I feel my stomach knot because of it. He looks drawn to the bonfire, unmoved when a few of the kids take to running down the trail. My brow knit tightly in concern. Jason? I wasn't exactly popular with the other kids. I was bullied often. It was easier to be myself than to be around other kids. Sometimes around the other counselors, it still feels that way. I feel so bad for Jason, honestly. I feel you, Jason. Stupid, considering I'm a grown man now. Oh, I apologize. You didn't ask for a story. In an instant, I felt my heart sink like a ship. As I watch him now, nonchalant in his admittance, I feel an urge rise up inside of me. I could chase it, I tell myself, or I can let them be. Maybe he didn't need to be smothered. I didn't need to tell him. I didn't want to tell him. I didn't want him to feel I was pitying him, but what if? I'm just gonna save here because I don't want to die. I mean, I'm going for it. I'm going for it. It takes a moment or two, but I follow my instincts to move a little closer, then keep my pinky finger first with his settled against the top of the log. It's a simple, intimate gesture, but one that doesn't provoke a strong response out of him. Is set outside of a jarring flinch to the stimuli of my hand on his. In fact, his attention turns entirely to me, and I feel my hurt for him hit all the stronger. How could someone be so cruel to someone so kind? Kids can be cruel, and you don't deserve to be treated like that. I'm really sorry, Jason. I hope you never have to feel that way again. If you do, talk to me, alright? Though I cannot process the way he felt at the words in a way I knew off the bat, I could tell by the way he leaned closer that he felt comfortable with the notion. His fingers felt at my skin, pressing against the mood ring I had kept since my childhood and refused to take off. Why do you have that on? Investigating the texture of it before finally settling on lacing his fingers with mine entirely. Ah! Thank you. I hope I didn't make you feel uncomfortable. I don't want you to feel like you have to be so kind and open. I'm kind to you because I want to, silly. I would have thought you knew as much based off today alone. I really enjoy spending my time with you. If I could, I think I'd spend all of it with you if given the chance. Another long pause of silence and look of disbelief before counting his head to the side curiously. I didn't think today was special, other than it being a date maybe, but those are normal with people you enjoy, isn't it? Wait, he said what? I'm not just reading that off the text. I'm like, what? I feel myself get lightheaded and almost immediately stammering aloud before smiling widely, the way one does when they're absolutely nervous as hell. You died. Nah, I didn't. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did anyway. Of course I did. Jason nodded, slipping his hand free from my own and planting both of them on the top of his knees. There's a look of relief in his eyes before playing off the nerves of admitting his scheme of isolating me on a date. He doesn't mind the silence, it's a bit awkward. He's basking in the moments, all the same of our shared enjoyment. I'm glad, Lionel. I don't think I would have wanted to spend it with anyone else. My hands roll into the palms quietly as the night goes on, and all the while my eyes had never once left Jason's form. I watched as he took to getting the kids tucked in, assuring them that whatever shadows that they had seen on the trails were their imagination before sending them off to bed. I picked up the toys and scattered marshmallows, covered sticks to deposit in the chipper. So it was an actual date? He called it a date? I went on a date with Jason? Instinct had my hand slapping at my face, groaning when the familiarity of heat raced across my face. I drew my knees to my chest, huffing tiredly as the entire day's activities were picked apart, one by one, all circling back to him. Something inside of me felt almost upset that this was a date, considering how deep I was becoming. Surely a date would end in a kiss, wouldn't it? Oh, the mere thought sent my head spinning. I found myself ashamed. Jason wasn't someone that just ran ahead kissing and sleeping with whoever he wanted. That was for stupid, insensitive dipshits like Kevin. Fuck Kevin. Ugh, why is this so... Ah, you monster! A monster! The shriek almost sent me flying out of my skin. Standing upright so fast I nearly felt all my weight topple over inside the log. I found stability, funnily enough, in the child who tossed themselves in my arms. Tears and snot soaked the pant legs of my khakis. Before I could get a word out, the child gripped in fear at my shirt, pulling me down in a frenzy. Lionel, come quick. I saw it by the lake. It almost ate my face off. You gotta slow down, okay? Take a deep breath for me, okay? It took watching me to do it. But as I fell onto a crouch and calmly held the child in place, breathing in deep for him to follow, he nodded in a pout and tried to stabilize his breathing. We repeated the process for a moment, and finally, after a couple of minutes, he was able to speak coherently past his hiccuping and nerves. Donna and Mabel dared me to throw rocks at it in the woods. I didn't think there was a monster, but I heard it, and it even took all of our sleeping bags. But why aren't your sleeping bags in your tent, Marcus? We wanted to wake up to the flying fish, so we were going to sleep by the river. I nodded at the young boy. It might not have flown with Jason had he told him, but I could understand if anything. Rose to my feet and scooped the young boy into my arms carefully, turning to the woods with a big heavy sigh. Jason was still gathering up the other children at the entrance of the campsite, so I'd have to handle this on my own for now. Determination took over, and with a firm nod, I looked up to the boy, sniffling and rubbing his snot across his pajama sleeves. Alright, Marcus, you're gonna have to be brave for me, buddy. Can you tell me exactly where you and the girls saw the big monster? We have to get your sleeping bags, okay? Yeah, but what if... Hey, I won't let anything happen to you, okay? If you get scared, you run as fast as you can. I'll keep the monster distracted. I'm the camp counselor, so you know what that means. I don't know what that means, but I guess he knows what that means, because he's nodding. Oh wait, no, he shakes his head, wearing his puppy dog eyes proudly. I smiled at him, wiping his tears off with a curl of my finger to his cheek. I'm practically a superhero. Like Mr. Voorhees? Just like him. Yep, my superhero. But hey, he's a lot cooler. He has more muscles than you. I felt myself deflate with raspberry, pursing my lips indignantly. Kids really were cruel little assholes when they wanted to be. I thought to myself. I smiled regardless, shaking my head a bit at the small boy. Maybe, but I'm a lot faster. So, you with me, Marcus? I don't think I'm faster than Mr. Voorhees. He fast. He real fast. The young boy gave a nod, and I returned it with one of my own. With a child in my arms, we both began to head down the path, looking side to side through the tenebrous dark, the pines forming a sea of trees that felt as if they had gone on for miles and miles. I felt a shudder run down my spine at the idea of finally finding something lurking around in the woods, especially after all the stuff I had heard today too. Jason had said he never found anything. I found myself in disbelief even then. There was too much noise, too much rustling and displacement in the woods for there to have been nothing. We had been on the trail for some time, and even after the 15 minutes, give or take, we had heard it then, at the same time. The sound of something heavily breathing, snapping branches underfoot with the weight of its steps. On a knee-jerk, I slapped a hand over the mouth of the young boy who was ready to scream, and threw us both behind the safety of a tree, sliding against it and falling in a crouch. I felt my throat lock up, sweating despite the cold of the late evening, and feeling my heart hammering away in my chest. Okay, when I say run, you need to run. Okay, Marcus? Don't look back or stop. The boy nodded frantically, tears pricking his eyes again as the sound of heavy footsteps come closer and closer. The more I listened to it, the more I realized I recognized what creature it was. There wasn't a camper alive who didn't recognize the heavy growling of a grizzly, and while they had every right to be in the forest, it didn't make the fear of being attacked any better. They were still territorial, and they were camping in their backyard after all. My hands patted the ground, feeling for something that could be used as a distraction, and I finally found a purchase against a heavy rock, swallowing around the lump in my throat before peering around the trunk of the tree we both hid behind. At the sight of the lumbering massive shadow, I was quick to pitch a rock in the opposite direction of the camp, watching as the animal flinched and let out a ferocious roar into the night air. Color left my face, my body, if I had a mirror proper to see it, I imagine, but unfortunately, it took off running in the direction of the noise, well, fortunately, and it gave me enough time to push the young boy in the direction of the campsite. Go! Marcus wasted no time, nodding and whimpering as he ducked in and out of the tree line, disappearing into the night and towards the safety of the camp. My legs felt like jello, and I rolled my head back, exhaling shakily as I opened my eyes, and took in the shifting expanse of trees the tree canopy provided. Okay, Lionel, you've got two choices here. Oh, shit. Quick save. Damn, if I... fuck. Okay, let's go to sleeping bags. I think Jason's somewhere around there. It should be gone now. And I know exactly... And I know I saw the sleeping bags across the way. If I can see what the tracks look like, I can definitely confirm if it was a bear or not. I stepped carefully from the trees, standing still for what felt like an eternity before the forest fell back to an eerie quiet, distinct hums of cicadas I was so familiar with. The animal had gone a lot further than I anticipated it to, but judging by my own careful, quiet steps, it likely thought I had gone. Good, I thought. I began to crouch forward a bit, quickly moving towards the other side of the trail and tucking myself behind another tree trunk. A few more moments of absolute stillness, and then I started to creep forward towards the sleeping bags. I don't know what these kids were thinking, trying to sleep out here on their own, even without a massive scary thing running around. Yeesh. There was still a lot of destruction to be seen. That much was certain. Claw marks and evidence of gnawing on any surface worth its salt, and what was left of the sleeping bags was scattered across the forest floor. I scooped what remains of what looks like Marcus's stuffed dragon into my hands. Ah, and frowned, letting out a sudden sigh. Poor guy didn't survive a few rows of teeth. I'm not surprised. I think Fern knows how to sew, though. I'll have to get this fixed up for him. If I hadn't been so on edge, I might not have noticed the sound of movement off in the distance. I set my head in its direction, staring hard until the sound of footsteps crept closer and closer, feeling my fight or flight kick in. My eyes darted around, settling on a heavily sticker-bombed hydro flask left by one of the kids, and pulling it into my grasp before starting to shuffle back into the bushes, shaking myself the best I could. I watched, ignoring the sting of sharp thorns pricking my thighs and forearms, and waited for whatever was lurking in the shadows to come. I saw someone kill somebody with one of these things in a horror movie once. I'm not going down without a fight. Whatever pep talk I felt the need to give myself, had this been a horror movie, surely it would have spelled my very certain doom. While I was hyping myself up to jump out at what was coming, it had more than found its way behind me, breaking a few branches as it passed the threshold of the tree lines and entered the area I had been hiding in. I remember springing upwards, spinning on my heel, swinging openly with the hydro flask before starting to plummet backwards on my ass. With a heavy thud, I hissed and blindly, eyes closed, let out a poor attempt at a battle cry. I taste like crap! Back the hell up! I'm pretty sure that's Jason in front of me. My arms grew heavier and heavier, swinging at the air, waiting for it to connect. Wait, why weren't any of my wings connecting? I cracked my eyes open, blinking away, shocked, when above me didn't stand a 9-foot bear, but an almost 7-foot man, none other than... Hello! How did you find me? The head counselor looked down at me, grabbing my wrist gently and pulling me to my feet before looking at the dirt trail behind us. It took squinting to see what he had followed was my footprints. I planted my hand against my face in embarrassment, but all he did was chuckle lowly and start pulling debris free from my hair and clothes. At least, if it was a bunch of concerned crying kids, it might have felt a little more important. I extended out the mauled stuffed animal, brushing Jason's knuckles as I left it in his hand. I peered out, looking to see if the animal had crept up on the two of us while he spoke, but let out a sigh of relief to see only the same brush and dark forest I had seen earlier. I moved to start walking, but before I could, I felt myself pulled into embrace of the head counselor, and my face heating up for possibly the 100th time that day. Jason? He held the hug for a little while longer, allowing me to snake my arms around his form too in a comforting squeeze. I smelled myself, pulling away and watched his hand wrapped. When Marcus got back, I thought the worst. I was worried about you. I smiled more, and while it might have confused him, I couldn't help it. He was worried about me? My heart skipped a beat. I wanted to make sure the kids would be safe. I'm not sure if that meant that, but at least I have peace of mind that those three aren't some animal's late-night snack. Speaking of, I could use to nurse more. You? The counselor rolled his eyes, placing a hand at the small of my back and guiding us out into the trail where we'd head back into the camp. It was better to make sure the kids didn't spread any wild rumors based off a mountain lion or a harmless bear cub. Oh well, more for me then. Aww. So that's the end of a slasher dating simulator. Link is in the description below. Be sure to support the developer. Yeah, this was the beta, the soft release of it, and I'm really excited to see what else they come up with. So yeah, that's all for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and like always, just subscribe if you'd like to, share it, I don't know, just do whatever you want. This is Lionel signing off. Ciao. I'm still upset I didn't get to cuddle Jason, but hey, a hug is good.